how do you take a simple web idea and turn it into a profitable enterprise? Well, let's turn to this week's board of directors. Stephanie Leffler is an e-commerce groundbreaker. She's the Senior Vice President of Network Solutions. And Ryan Blair is the CEO of PathConnect.com. That's a company which connects small business owners with mentors. Ryan is also a successful investor and business consultant. Welcome back, both of you.
Thank you.
You guys are the perfect panel for this internet conversation. So let's start with you, Stephanie. These companies live and die on the trust they've built. It's all about, one person sending it to somebody else. Could that have happened quickly, or does it have to take time?
There are ways to make it happen more quickly. Getting a big name that somebody recognizes behind you, either in a spokesperson or a brand that someone's heard of before, certainly helps it happen faster. But you do have to take time and gain people's trust. So while you can accelerate it, there's always some work to be done in the long term. Yeah,
so one of the things that Sasha said in the piece is he saw during the internet boom that all these companies thought that they would grow really quickly. And he learned, no, you need to give it time. Do you agree?
Yeah, you need to build a great product. And what you saw in the piece was great products that people loved and adopted. And that does take time. People have to fall in love with your product for it to become a great internet company.
And is there something more to it also, if it's kind of just word of mouth?
I would say no. I mean, Google, for example, was founded by a word-of-mouth related, search engine that then turned into a great media company. But it still took them 3-4 years to get momentum behind them.
Okay, so word of mouth.
Yeah.
Again, that's what these companies are all about. How do you get it?
Well, I think, as Ryan said, the key is building a great product. The only way to get word of mouth is to build something that's so awesome that somebody wants to tell their friends or their business contacts about it. So if you can do that, you will generate the word of mouth. And having something that's different. If you're just like everybody else, it's not going to work anyway, but you're definitely not going to get what you want.
I mean, most people think their product is great. Is there any sort of silver bullet to get people to talk about it?
There are now word of mouth strategies. See, this is kind of a new topic for marketers and so forth. So people don't understand that word of mouth is something that you can create if you have a strategy to do so. And there are wonderful books on it. There are consultants. There's companies that help you get your word of mouth projects off the ground.
Do you have any ideas of any?
Yeah, I'm writing one.
Okay. All right. So read Ryan's book when it comes out. All right. And then finally, let's talk about this advertising strategy, because that's the revenue model for both of these and for so many internet-based businesses. What I thought was interesting about Flavor Pills, that he went for nearly 2 years without revenue because he didn't want to get kind of advertisers that he didn't think were right for his product. Does that make sense?
Well, not everyone has such luxury to go for 2 years without having to worry about money. Obviously, he must have been funded to build his business, so I would say that that's not a traditional route. I focus on monetization on the portfolio companies and the projects that we work with right away. So how fast can they make money? And that's really up to the entrepreneur to define the revenue plan.
But do you think it would have hurt his company at all to have said, okay, I want to get some local advertisers, some names that maybe everyone doesn't know? Would the big box advertisers or the big brands maybe not have been as interested?
Well, I think the key is the fact that he defined his strategy early on. Yeah. If he defined a strategy that called for not using small advertisers because he had a very clear idea of what he was going to get out of the big advertisers, then it makes sense. If it was more of just a leap of faith and wait and see, I'm not so comfortable with it. So the smaller advertisers could potentially make somebody think that he was smaller and distract them from the content. So I like his strategy as long as it was calculated.
My opinion is he was smart because he aligned with the right brands. If you're advertising and aligning with the wrong brands, you're letting these brands on your site, and your consumers and so forth don't appreciate those brands. You've done a disservice to those consumers.
Yeah, it's interesting. And Social Diva does the same thing. If you look at the advertisers on that site, they're very much targeted to her audience. Turning now to your questions. First up, a viewer asked us about financing options.
Can you explain the pros and cons of using a convertible debt structure to expand a small but profitable business?
All right, Ryan, let's start out by defining what a convertible debt structure is.
Well, first and foremost, convertible debt is a form of debt or financing that converts to equity. And to answer the question directly, the pros are that sometimes you don't have to give up as much equity. The cons are that you have a debt infrastructure over your head, so you have to have repayment on that at some point. I use those in a number of venture finance deals that I've been involved with, both as a CEO and as an investor. So I think it's a great instrument, and it aligns both the investor and the entrepreneur together.
So you're in favor of it?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, moving on to the next one. This is from an owner of an event space.
How can I retain part-time employees and ensure that I'm getting responsible, reliable people who will put forth our image properly and do the work needed of them when at times I'm only going to require them for a couple hours over the course of a month?
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you get their loyalty if you use them so little?
Sure. Well, I think the key is flexibility. You have to realize that this is a secondary activity for the people that you're recruiting. So the key is to have a big list of people that you trust, pay them well, and give them ultimate flexibility so they can do their other job in addition to yours.
Moving on to the emails now. One viewer wrote us asking, I'm having a difficult time deciding which type of advertising to use for my business. Is the Yellow Pages still a good choice? It seems to be affordable, but I wonder who's using it. Is anyone using it?
I think people still are using the Yellow Pages. It really depends on A, your type of business, and B, the demographic you're targeting. So if your business applies to everybody, regardless of age, I would put an ad in the Yellow Pages if it's local, because you still have a certain crowd that's turning there to find businesses. If it's a younger audience or it's not local, the internet's the way to go.
Yeah, I don't think I picked up a Yellow Pages in the past 10 years since the internet
Hence
was
the younger
invented.
audience thing, it's not you.
Yeah, I'm younger, and there's the only way you catch me picking up the Yellow Pages is if my PDA didn't work or there was no internet anywhere to be found. So I would say advertise on the internet before Yellow Pages, personally.
Right, though I think you're right about the demographic thing there, and it's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And so most Yellow Pages, you get an online component with your Yellow Pages advertisement, so you can get broad coverage. But yeah, it is a question of